For fun, here's a video of how I dry my dogs. So she's just freshly washed. I have not done anything else but wash her. First, I try to squeeze out all the excess water I can get. Really going down the legs and the paws, body. This is Miss Paris. She's the best girl ever. Really getting as much squeeze out as I can. The ears. Use a lot of towels. Towels are your best friend. They make the drying process much faster. So I kind of squeeze and pat the hair to squeeze the water out into the towel. Down the legs real good, the feet. Like I said, it's more of like a squeeze the hair out than just like viciously rubbing the dog all over, because that's how you could accidentally mat up the dog some. Okay. After I towel dry some, I really like the Biogrim's the Matte Pro. It's just a leave-in conditioner. Leaves them nice and soft. I think it helps them dry a little faster. Spray that all over, and it helps with getting them brushed out. After I spray that in, get a new towel that's not wet. Do the same thing. Just kind of really scrub that in. Alrighty. You can kind of see how dry she already is just from literally towel drying her. Hi, Paris. I'm gonna move her over to the table. That would be my dog on the table. Senna, what are you doing? Come on, Miss Paris. Stop. Move, Senna. Other way. Good girl. Just everything for her. So what I just hooked her into is called a groomer's helper. It just kind of helps keep the dog a little more still. It kind of keeps their head in place so they can't spin around on you. It's really great for mean dogs because then they can't try and spin and bite you. But I just really like it while I'm drying dogs. Alrighty. She's on the table. You can still see a little dripping water that I missed. Go over it with the towel a little bit more. The feet real good. I always put a towel down on the table. The purpose of the table towel is to catch all the water you're blowing off of them, so then your dog's not just standing, or if they happen to sit, they don't just sit down in the water on the table. It helps a lot, because then you're just not, because too, the towel absorbs the water, so if you do spray your table, you're not just going to spray the water back up at the dog. So I cheat a little bit. I have a little stand dryer.
So once I turned on the dryer, I decided to turn off the volume because the dryer was quite loud, so it's definitely hard to hear me even with the headset on. So what you can see me doing is I have the stand dryer pointing at her head. So that's kind of working on drying her head and just applying a little air there while I am drying her body. I like to start at their back end. If it's a new dog, I always try to turn on the dryer and face the hose away from the dog first, just so they can hear the noise and see how they react. Paris, she's a pro at this, so she doesn't really care, so I just hop right in there, but I still start at the back leg. You can see I'm using a towel with me while I'm drying. Similar to the table towel, the towel I'm using while I'm drying is to catch all the hair that I'm blowing off of her while I'm blowing it off. So everywhere I'm drying, I try to put the towel behind it just to catch all that water flying off. Because if I don't catch it with the towel, then it's just flying off onto another part of the dog. And then when I go to dry that part of the dog, I blow it back onto the original part of the dog. So it's just kind of like a losing battle. Right here, I'm working on her ears. When I work on ears, I like to put the towel underneath the ears. And that helps block out the noise from the dryer and helps keep from air blowing down into their ear canal. And again, helps the water blow off onto the towel. So it's pretty good to do that. Pretty much just do that all over because I really just don't want the water to blow right back onto the dog. So you can see I finished one side for the most part. So now I'm working on the other. My goal is to get her about 85% dry. Once I do that, then I start actually brushing her with the dryer. So the first side's pretty good. Her head still needs a little bit of work, but the stand dryer is working on that for me. Like I said, I'm a little bit of a cheater and I use the stand dryer. But you can see I can work on the inside of the opposite leg by blowing from underneath of her, and I just go. You can see the water spraying off of her too if I don't catch it with the towel. It's kind of crazy how much water will spray off. Side note, I use what's called the water peeler nozzle on my dryer. Most dryers come with a more round nose tip nozzle. And with that one, if you get too close to the skin, it kind of whips the hair around and causes what's considered dryer mats. With the water peeler nozzle, it's more of a flat head, and I'm really able to get it pretty close onto the skin, but then I always aim it out. Like whenever I'm working on longer hair, like on her tail, I'll aim it going down and out on her tail, not like just directly down at her tail. Working on her face, I fix the stand dryer some to make sure it's hitting where it needs to hit. I had to speed this up, or otherwise this was a pretty long video, so I really don't move that fast. I wish I did. I'd probably get 3 times more dogs done, but it's just not possible. Paris is such a good girl. Now, as you saw, I did hook her up in the groomer's helper, but she really doesn't try to move. She doesn't need it. It's just kind of a habit. I just like that because it keeps them from trying to spin around on me or try to play with me. And then there are some bad dogs that saved my face a few times. So I really like the groomer's helper. It's a great investment for everyone, in my opinion. I'm kind of checking her over. So here's where I'm taking the tip off the dryer. So when you take the tip off, I don't know what the science behind this is, why it happens, but for some reason when you take the tip off the dryer, the air gets warmer. So it essentially makes it kind of like a little stand dryer in your hand. So wherever I am blowing air, I start brushing. Since Paris has more of a poodle coat, it brushes out straight, the curly coat. You can kind of brush in any direction and it'll all turn out straight. If she had a wavier coat or more of a straight, like flat coat, I would always want to make sure when I'm brushing the hair out, I'm brushing in the direction the hair is supposed to lay so I don't cause like awkward cowlicks and whatnot. But my main goal right now is to just get that hair as straight as possible for clipping it. And by using the dryer, it helps me brush all the way down to the skin so I can make sure I get any little tangles out, any mats out, any dead hair out. Sometimes I'll lift a leg so I can get to the other leg better. Like with the back legs, I'll lift the leg while I'm holding the tail to get in there better. Or the front legs, I'll hold one leg up while I dry the other leg so she can't pick her leg up on me. But brush, brush, brush. Back brush, forward brush. Just get all that hair brushed while it's being dried so it can straighten out. I don't worry as much about using it on the ears when the tip isn't on, because it is a lot quieter when the tip isn't on. So it's not as big of a concern using it on the head. So if you have a dog that is really scared of the dryer, taking the tip off before you attempt to work on their head might help you with that. It's kind of a long process, but the way I do it, I honestly get them done decently quickly. From the time I got her out of the tub to when I'm done with this video, obviously it's sped up right now, but I think the true video's length was 28 minutes. So 28 minutes to get her completely dried, brushed, and combed out, ready to groom. It's pretty darn good in my opinion for a larger sized doodle. And her hair is pretty long too. Her hair's probably about 2 inches long. There's a lot of coat on there. But it's kind of just a lot of repetition going over her whole body, making sure I don't miss any spots. Brush, brush. See there, you can see me holding up a leg while I work on the other leg. It's harder for her to pick up the leg I want to brush if I'm holding the other leg up. Get in there behind the ears. When it's super speed, it looks like I'm like brushing so hard, but I'm really not. I promise. Brush, brush, brush. So I did speed up the last bit of drying a bit more just to get the video a little bit shorter. But now I'm working on my comb work. I still do have the stand dryer blowing on her head a little tiny bit. Just has a little wet spot still. But you can see how I'm going over her whole body. I'll hold the skin taut while I'm combing, and I separate the hair and really comb down to the skin. If I find any spot where the comb snags, I will go back to the brush. I don't like to try and comb out mats. I use the comb to check my work, and I use the brush to work out any snags. So I'll comb, and if I find a snag, I'll go back to brushing, and then I'll check my work again with the comb. And I'm just using the comb to really make sure I got all the way down to the skin everywhere, and to really get that hair nice and straight so it'll be nice and easy to clip. And she's ready to go. Thanks.